Wind claws at the trees. Metal answers with a tired groan. Some doors are warnings, not entrances. He doesn't know that yet. Marcus works with the earth. Thick hands. Split knuckles. Years of weeds and roots and weather on his skin. He trusts soil. It gives back only what you put in. Fair. Honest. Silent. A new job pulls him north. An old estate. Bought by a rich stranger who wants the grounds reborn. The place has slept too long. Let it breathe again, they said. Marcus said yes. He arrives at dawn. Mist over cracked stone. The mansion hunches in the center like a wounded animal. Windows boarded. Roof veiled in moss. Vines gripping the walls as if to drag them down. The driveway is a root-split river of asphalt. Angel statues tilt in the weeds, faces rubbed smooth by rain. The air tastes of damp timber. And something sour he cannot name. His crew unloads in quiet rhythms. Old friends. Men who know his pace and follow it. Blades sharpen. Engines cough awake. Green walls of briar and laurel stare back. They begin. Brush fights them. Thorns rake arms. The machete remembers every stroke. Light filters through a ceiling of neglected branches. In the small pauses, the land shows odd fragments. A chain half buried, as if it held something that strained. Stone steps that start and then surrender to dirt. Patches of ground tamped unnaturally flat, like paths walked by the same feet, again and again. Marcus notes it. Says nothing. Work is the answer to questions with no words. Hours pass. Unease ripens. This is not wildness taking back its due. This is a curtain. Drawn on purpose. A sweep of the blade. A sound not made by stone. Dull. Metallic. His arm stops mid-swing. He kneels. Ivy peels under his fingers. Cold grit under his nails. Rust lifts like scabs from iron skin. A surface emerges. Broad. Low. Set into a shallow rise behind the house. A door. The lock swollen with time. Edges chewed by years, but the core still stubborn, still strong. The garden hushes. Even the men behind him fall quiet. He feels their breath more than he hears it. He rests his palm on the iron. Flakes crumble. Underneath, it is solid. Patient. A keeper of something that wanted keeping. Who builds a door and then buries it? Who plants vines like guards? Marcus scans the slope. The ivy doesn't just grow. It clings. It covers as if instructed. He straightens. Wipes grit on his jeans. Looks at the house and back to the hill. Every instinct says leave it alone. Every hour of labor says finish what you started. He tests the edge. It will move, given time. Given nerve. Crowbars, he says, but he doesn't raise his voice. The men fetch them. Shoes crush wet leaves. The smell under the ivy sharpens, metallic and old. They dig away roots that anchor the frame. They clear a seam beside the lock. The steel complains. The hill seems to listen. He imagines the first hand that shut this door. What it feared. What it meant to hide from eyes like his. The light is thinning. Shadows gather around the statues. Birds abandon the high branches. Even wind seems to hold its breath. Marcus leans in. Ear to the cold. Silence answers. He steps back. Not today, he tells himself. But the thought rings hollow. The door has already entered him. He knows it. The land knows it. He leaves it closed. For now. Yet as they pack the tools and the day exhales, his gaze returns and returns. Iron in earth. A line between two worlds. Some doors are warnings. Others are invitations. This one feels like both. And he has already said yes. Marcus barely sleeps. The image of that buried door lingers behind his eyes. Rust. Ivy. The strange silence that followed when his machete struck metal. He turns in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling of his small house. The night feels too long, too still. When dawn finally comes, he is already lacing his boots. The drive back to the estate is quiet. Fog clings to the road like smoke. The world feels unreal, suspended. Marcus's truck hums steadily, but his thoughts churn. It was just a door, he tells himself. Maybe a storm shelter, maybe an old cellar. But deep inside, he knows better. The earth doesn't hide ordinary things so carefully. He arrives before the crew. The grounds are cold and wet with dew. Every blade of grass glitters like glass shards in the pale morning light. Birds scatter from the trees as he walks, their cries sharp and frantic. Even they seem uneasy. Marcus heads straight for the door. The hill rises before him like a mound over a grave. The iron surface is still there, half-cleared, waiting. Roots twist stubbornly around its edges like veins. He grips his machete and begins to cut. Each swing exposes more of the door's outline. The sound of the blade against wood, vine, and earth fills the air. His breath comes in harsh clouds. The more he clears, the bigger it becomes. By the time the crew arrives, the entire frame is visible. They gather behind him, whispering. "Damn thing's huge," one mutters. "Could fit a truck through that," says another. No one dares step closer. The lock is monstrous, a thick cylinder of corroded metal. It looks fused, swollen from decades of rain and soil. Whoever sealed this door didn't want it opened. Marcus knows this now with bone-deep certainty. The men ask what he plans to do. Marcus doesn't answer. He kneels in the mud, staring at the door as though it might answer for itself. His reflection glimmers faintly in the wet rust, distorted and strange. He tries to work on other parts of the garden. He trims branches, clears pathways, focuses on routine labor, on the honest rhythm of his craft. But the door is always there, pulling his thoughts back. By midday, sweat soaks his shirt. The sun burns overhead. His patience snaps like a brittle branch. "Bring the crowbars," he says quietly. The men freeze, exchanging uneasy glances. No one wants to touch the thing, but no one refuses. They return with the tools. The first strike rings out, sharp, metallic. It echoes through the overgrown estate like a gunshot. Birds explode from the trees in a flurry of wings. Marcus grits his teeth and pushes harder. Rust falls away in showers of orange dust. The lock groans but holds. Another strike. And another. The final blow cracks it open with a sound like breaking bone. The noise is too loud, too final. Everyone goes silent, breath held tight in their throats. The lock hangs broken, swinging loosely. Marcus hesitates, his chest rising and falling. The air smells different now, colder, sharper. He grips the edge of the door and pulls. At first, it resists. Roots cling, soil grips like hands refusing to let go. Then, inch by inch, it yields. A grinding groan rises from beneath the earth, ancient and wrong. A rush of cold, damp air spills out. It smells of stone, rust, and something old, something dead. Marcus feels it crawl over his skin. Beneath the door, a set of concrete steps descends into blackness. The beam of his flashlight barely reaches the bottom. Water drips somewhere unseen, a slow, steady rhythm. The men gather close, peering over his shoulder. One whispers a prayer. Another swears under his breath. Marcus knows this choice is his alone. He steadies himself and places one boot on the top step. It's slick with moisture. Cold seeps into his bones. Step by step, he descends. The air grows heavy. The walls close in, bare concrete streaked with dark stains. The only sounds are the drip of water and the echo of his own breathing. The stairwell goes deeper than it should. Deeper than the hill above could contain. Marcus feels the weight of the earth pressing around him. Finally, the steps level out into a narrow corridor. The ceiling hangs low. He has to stoop slightly as he moves forward. His flashlight cuts through the darkness and lands on another door. This one is different. Thick steel. Its surface scarred by torches, welded seems blackened with age. It wasn't just closed. It was sealed, as though someone had been trying to keep something in. Marcus swallows hard. His hand trembles as he reaches out. The hinge on one side has corroded, sagging under its own weight. A narrow gap yawns open. From it, a colder draft spills, carrying the bitter scent of decay. Behind him, the crew shifts uneasily, murmuring. Marcus barely hears them. He presses his palm to the cold steel. It bites his skin like ice. For a long moment, he stands frozen. Then, with a deep breath, he pushes. The door groans like a wounded animal. It moves slowly, protesting every inch. Darkness pours out, thick and heavy. The beam of his flashlight cuts through swirling dust. Shapes begin to emerge. Faint outlines of something vast, waiting. Marcus's chest tightens. Every instinct screams to turn back. But he steps forward. Into the dark. Into the unknown. The air inside is colder than winter. It clings to Marcus's skin, wet and heavy, carrying the sour tang of rust and something older, something foul. He breathes through his mouth, but the taste of decay coats his tongue. Behind him, his men hover at the threshold. None dare step in, but none want to be left alone outside either. Their silhouettes waver in the beam of his flashlight. The sound of their breathing feels too loud in this tomb of silence. Marcus moves forward. Each step crunches softly on debris scattered across the concrete floor. Flakes of rust. Splintered wood. Paper so decayed it disintegrates under his boots. The chamber stretches farther than he expected. The light can't find the walls all at once, only slices of shadowed shapes. He sweeps the beam across rows of shelves. On them sit boxes, crates, and barrels stacked high, many coated in a thick skin of dust. Some labels are still legible. Faded stencils read 1963, 1967, 1972. Numbers. Symbols. Warnings. Triangles. Skulls. Hazard diamonds. Each one older than Marcus himself. His chest tightens. This isn't just storage. It's a vault. He approaches the nearest shelf. A single box rests there, taped shut with brittle, yellowed paper. His hands tremble as he tears it open. The sound of the ripping tape echoes, unnatural in the stillness. Inside are stacks of papers, neatly wrapped in oiled cloth. He pulls one bundle free. The pages within are typewritten, stamped with seals and signatures he doesn't recognize. Lines of numbers, dates, foreign names. Even without understanding, Marcus feels their weight. These documents were never meant for public eyes. They are records of things done in shadow, transactions, shipments, betrayals. A whisper escapes one of the men behind him. Jesus, what is this place? Marcus doesn't answer. He can't. His throat is too tight. He sets the papers down carefully, as though they might explode. The flashlight sweeps across a table nearby. Old photographs lie scattered across its surface. Faces frozen in black and white. Men in military uniforms, some shaking hands beside crates. Ships docked in harbors at night. Dark silhouettes of planes on runways. Each image a fragment of a larger, darker story. Beside the photos sits a reel-to-reel tape recorder. The reels are coated with dust, but intact. Stacks of tape sit neatly beside it, each labeled with cryptic codes and dates. Marcus imagines the voice of the man who once sat here, whispering secrets into the machine, recording plans never meant to be heard again. The thought makes his skin crawl. The further Marcus moves, the more oppressive the air becomes. The silence is so deep it almost hums. The weight of history presses against him, thick as the dust in his lungs. Then he sees it. A section of wall sealed off by a heavy iron grate. The metal is red with rust, but still strong. It takes all his strength to wrench it open. The screech of the hinges slices through the stillness like a scream. Beyond lies another chamber. Smaller, darker, and far more dangerous. The smell hits first, sharp, acrid, chemical. Marcus coughs, yanking his shirt up over his mouth and nose. His men gag behind him. Metal canisters line the shelves here. Some are pristine, their seals unbroken. Others are corroded, black streaks running down their sides. One has split open, a thick, oily liquid dripping steadily onto the floor, pooling in a stagnant puddle. Marcus steps closer, holding the flashlight steady. Symbols are painted on the containers, warning signs he recognizes from industrial trucks. Biohazard. Flammable. Toxic. Death etched in every shape and color. His breath catches. This isn't a shelter for survival. It's a stockpile. A weapon. A place built not to protect life, but to control it. Suddenly, the welded seams on the door above make sense. Someone hadn't just wanted to keep people out. They'd been trying to trap something in. Something dangerous. Something that should never see daylight. One of the men whispers hoarsely, "We shouldn't be here." The others nod quickly, stepping back. Fear rolls off them like heat. Marcus doesn't move. He stares at the leaking canister, the dripping poison, the endless shelves of dark history. His mind reels. This estate wasn't abandoned. It was buried. Deliberately. The mansion above was only camouflage, a mask for the real heart of this place. In the far corner, Something glints beneath the beam of his flashlight. A trunk, its brass fittings green with corrosion. Marcus kneels and pries it open. Inside are leather-bound ledgers, stamped with crests and family names. These aren't military records. They are personal. Connections. Wealth. Proof of a network that stretches across oceans, binding politicians, soldiers, and merchants in one web. His stomach turns. This wasn't just one man's secret. It was a world's hidden skeleton. Marcus rises slowly, heart pounding. The men look to him for guidance, their faces pale, their eyes wide. He knows what they are all thinking. They should run, leave this place untouched. But Marcus also knows what will happen if they do. The poison will keep leaking. The truth will keep rotting in the dark. And someone, someday, will stumble across it again. He wipes his hand across his face, smearing sweat and dust. The decision burns like fire in his chest. He has to act. He has to tell someone. For now, the chamber remains still. But it feels alive, watching, as though the shadows themselves resent being disturbed. Marcus turns toward the stairs. The light trembles in his hand. And for the first time, he feels certain of one thing. This discovery will not stay buried. Marcus doesn't sleep that night. He sits on the edge of his narrow bed, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. The images won't leave him. The dripping canister. The brittle papers stamped with seals of power. The black and white photographs of smiling men standing over crates of death. The memory of the air down there clings to his skin, metallic and sour. It feels like the bunker followed him home. No matter how he breathes, the taste of rust remains in his throat. By dawn, Marcus knows what he must do. He cannot hide this. The danger is too great. Someone has to see what lies beneath the hill. He drives to the estate in silence, the road wet with early rain. The mist is thick, swallowing the trees on either side. When he steps out of his truck, the garden feels different. Not just overgrown now, but watching. The statues loom like sentinels. The ivy rustles in a way that sounds like whispering. Marcus forces himself to move. His boots are heavy, the grass slick underfoot. At the door, he takes out his phone and makes the call. His voice is steady, though his hands tremble. He explains what he found. The barrels, the documents, the possible chemical leaks. The line goes silent for several beats. Then a calm, clipped voice assures him. Stay where you are. Authorities are on their way. By mid-morning, the first vehicles arrive. Police cars with flashing lights cut through the mist. Then unmarked black vans. Men in heavy protective suits step out, their faces hidden behind masks. Marcus stands off to the side as they move with quiet precision. They don't shout. They don't hesitate. These are people who have done this before, and who know the stakes. Bright tape goes up, marking the perimeter. The garden, once Marcus's workplace, now looks like a crime scene. Even the birds are gone. Only the hum of generators and the murmur of radios fill the air. One suited figure approaches Marcus. You discovered this place. Marcus nods. His mouth is dry. Show me, the man says simply. Together, they descend the stairs. The smell hits immediately. Mildew, rust, the sharp bite of chemicals. Even through the man's mask, Marcus sees his reaction. A stiffening. A silent recognition of danger. The man signals. More workers follow, carrying lights, cameras, containers for evidence. The chamber floods with stark white light, banishing the shadows. But the truth it reveals is no less dark. Teams move methodically, cataloguing each leaking canister, photographing every box and paper, sealing hazardous containers in thick layers of plastic and steel. Bomb disposal units arrive next. Their presence sends a cold shiver through Marcus's spine. If these men are needed, then whatever sits on those shelves is more dangerous than he imagined. Military trucks roll in through the cracked gates of the estate. Their insignias are bold against the decayed stone of the mansion. Each truck is treated like a lifeboat, loaded carefully, precisely. No mistakes allowed. Above ground, Marcus watches in numb silence. Workers carry boxes, each one handled with delicate care, as though the past itself might detonate if dropped. The leaking canister is removed last. It glistens under the harsh floodlights, like a venomous creature captured alive. As the operation grows, so does the crowd. Journalists arrive, cameras flashing, voices overlapping. Reporters shout questions Marcus cannot answer. What's down there? How long has it been here? Did you know what you were digging into? He says nothing. His eyes stay on the hill, on the black opening that once hid so much. By afternoon, historians and government agents arrive. Their suits are crisp, their notebooks never still. They whisper in clusters, their words half swallowed by the noise. Marcus catches fragments. Foreign funding. Classified operations. Cold War connections. One historian, a woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice, approaches him. She speaks quietly, as though afraid the garden itself might be listening. The man who owned this estate, she explains, wasn't just wealthy. He was powerful in ways most never see. Steel, oil, weapons. He built his fortune in shadows, during the Cold War. What you found down there, it isn't just a stockpile. It's evidence. Proof of things governments would rather forget. Marcus absorbs her words like a blow to the chest. He looks at the mansion, its windows boarded, its walls cracked and veined with ivy. He sees it differently now. Not abandoned, but disguised. A mask for the rot beneath. The sun begins to sink, flooding the estate with orange light. Generators roar. Floodlights snap on. The once silent garden becomes a hive of activity. Figures move like ants, carrying the past piece by piece into waiting trucks. Reporters swarm the gates, their cameras hungry. Marcus's name is already spreading, the gardener who uncovered the century's darkest secret. But he doesn't feel like a hero. He feels hollow, as if every step, every swing of his machete, led him not to triumph, but to this. A wound torn open, bleeding history into the present. By nightfall, Marcus stands apart from the noise, watching the dark hill. The door remains open, its edges glowing under the artificial lights. It looks like a mouth that once swallowed secrets, and now spits them back out into the world. He knows what he has done cannot be undone. The truth is out, but the shadows it casts have only begun to spread. The following days blur into one another. Sunrise, flashing cameras, endless questions. Marcus wakes each morning to a world he no longer recognizes. His photograph is everywhere. On front pages beside grainy images of the mansion. On television screens next to shots of military trucks rolling through cracked gates. The story spreads like fire. Humble gardener uncovers decades of hidden crimes. To strangers, Marcus becomes a symbol. The man who peeled back the earth and revealed what lay beneath. But to himself, he feels like nothing more than a trespasser. Someone who pushed open a door that should have stayed shut. Reporters camp outside his small house. Vans line the street. Every time he steps outside, voices shout at him. What did you see down there? Did you touch anything? Do you realize what you found? Marcus answers little. He repeats the same plain truth. I was clearing land. My machete struck metal. I opened a door. The rest, you know. But the more he speaks, the less real the words feel. They don't belong to him anymore. The story has been claimed by others. Government officials visit too. Some polite, others cold, their eyes sharp, questions sharper. They press him for details. Who was with him? What order did he discover things in? Did he take anything before calling them? Marcus gives them honesty, though his honesty feels like nothing compared to their precision. He senses the unspoken message. They don't just want answers. They want control. Control over the narrative. Control over the secret. At night, Marcus dreams. Always the same dream. The statues move. Their blank marble faces twist, watching him. The ivy slithers like snakes, tugging at his legs. The hill rises higher, and the door waits at the top, yawning wide. From the darkness beyond, voices whisper in languages he doesn't understand. He wakes gasping, the taste of rust and mildew thick in his mouth. Weeks pass. The estate is sealed under permanent guard. The new owner is stripped of any claim. Warning signs sprout along the fences like weeds. Keep out. Toxic material. Restricted area. Marcus sometimes drives back there anyway. He parks outside the gate and stands silently, staring. Even half-cleared, the garden has begun to grow wild again. Nature is eager to reclaim what humans exposed. It's as though the land itself wants to bury the secret once more. The guards know him now. Sometimes they nod with wary respect, sometimes they motion for him to leave. He always obeys, but never without looking back one last time. Public opinion begins to change. At first, people hailed him as a hero, but as the weeks stretch on, their eyes shift. Some look at him with suspicion, as if he must have known more than he revealed. Others with pity, like he carries a burden too heavy for one man. A few avoid his gaze altogether, afraid of what might be reflected there. Marcus feels the change inside himself too. The soil beneath his hands no longer feels innocent. Every weed he cuts, every flower he plants, reminds him of that bunker, of the rot hidden beneath beauty. The government releases statements filled with promises. Transparency, justice, reform. Officials speak of bringing dark history into the light. But Marcus knows words can be just another mask. How many truths will be shown? And how many quietly locked away again, buried in deeper vaults than before? He fears the answer. The past has been uncovered. But has it really been defeated? Or just repackaged, ready to vanish into new shadows? One evening, Marcus returns to the estate alone. The sun sinks low, setting the sky ablaze with red and gold. The guards let him stand at the fence for a moment, silent and still. The mansion looms, its windows still bordered like blind eyes. The hill that once concealed the iron door lies quiet again, ivy creeping back over the scar. The breeze stirs the vines, whispering secrets only the earth understands. Marcus watches, and for a heartbeat, he almost believes it's over. That the wound has healed. That the past will rest again beneath its cover of green. But deep inside, he knows better. The door may be hidden, but the shadow it released will never fully vanish. It follows him, stretching long and thin, a stain he cannot scrub from his soul. He thinks of his life before, the rhythm of labor, the satisfaction of coaxing order from chaos, a world where soil was honest, where roots and rain were all that mattered. That life feels distant now, unreachable, as though it belonged to someone else. He has crossed a threshold, and crossing has a price. You can never return. The last trucks rumble away in the distance, carrying boxes of documents, barrels sealed in protective shells, the evidence of crimes too vast to name. Marcus turns from the gate. The gravel crunches under his boots. Steady, grounding, familiar. He breathes deeply. The night air is cool and clean. It reminds him that life still grows, even above graves. He cannot change what he found. He cannot bury it again. But he can still tend to the soil, still coax new growth from the earth. Perhaps that will be enough. As the darkness gathers around him, Marcus walks on. Behind him, the garden whispers. Ahead of him, the road stretches into the unknown. The secret remains buried, but never forgotten. Some doors, once opened, never truly close.